A mother texted me. She said, my husband and 3 boys are driving out to a place where we'll camp for a couple of days. So this text is happening in real time. My 9-year-old Blake just announced I didn't bring my socks or shoes or sandals. I was a little annoyed with this news. He didn't forget to pack them. He just chose not to go and get them. Too much trouble for him. We have some hikes planned and other stuff that he'll need shoes for, so this is really inconvenient. I kept my mouth shut, but now I'm wondering, what can I say? He's going to want his shoes. We could stop somewhere and pick up some sandals should it come out of his bank account. I texted, do not buy him shoes. It would be rescuing him. Don't. He has to experience the consequences of his choice. He can walk barefooted. Now you're thinking that without shoes, he'll slow you down. I promise you that he can walk with no shoes as fast as the younger kids can with shoes. So he won't slow you down. Mom said, that's what my gut was saying, but he's going to be miserable, and I don't want it to bring us down. He might get a thorn in his foot. And I said, great, I hope he does. Don't rescue him. He's been sloppy about following directions for some time. Like most of us, he wants to do things his way. And most of the time, you let him do things his way. Tell him that most of the time you do. Remind him that you give him lots of free time. You allow him to choose what he wants to eat and much more. You give him lots of freedom in his choices, but sometimes he must pay attention to what you say, like bedtime, homework, and, wait for it, shoes when you go somewhere in the car. He knows this already, and now he has to live with the possibility of stepping on sharp rocks, thorns, and whatever else you encounter at the campsite and on the trail. He chose no shoes, so he also chose what follows with no shoes. Mom texted, and I'm guessing that he's going to make a stink about every activity that we've planned, or he'll say, I'm not going. I said, the very first time he utters a word of complaint, any attitude, don't you hesitate for a second. You say with absolute calm, no shoes? You have shoes at home, I think. There are so many things you could say, and you could say them either calmly or with a slight mocking tone. Turn to the other kids, for example, and say with a big smile, everybody, who failed to bring Blake's shoes? He will get the joke. He won't particularly like the joke, but he'll get it, and he'll see that you don't feel bad about him not bringing his own shoes. He wants you to take responsibility for his choice, and he's been doing this for a long time. He makes the choice, you rescue him from his choice. This time, you're not punishing him. He's making the choice, and you're making him responsible for his choice. Mom said, I'm listening. I'm learning. What if he refuses to go on the hike? Can he stay at the campsite or sit in the car if he doesn't want to go? I said, no, he has to come along. This is one of those choices he doesn't get to make. Remind him again that he gets to make lots of choices. And you can tell him that if he's difficult about this choice, you can begin to limit a lot more of his choices at home, like bedtime, free time, use of devices. You need to take him on the trail, even if you have to tie a rope around him. You just can't leave him alone at a campsite. Might not be dangerous, but there is a safety issue. You can't guarantee his safety in a strange place. He's just too young. So he has to go, and he doesn't get to make a choice that makes it impossible for everybody else to go. Mom said, I just want to be prepared for all these conversations that I can see coming, so thanks for the guidance. Well, that's exactly what every mother needs. The parenting training is a great basic training, but then you get out in the field with your kids, in your case, literally out in the field, in the woods, and you discover all kinds of challenges and questions. It really helps to be coached about what you can say, because if you look uncertain when you speak about something that's happening, children tend to discount your capability, and then they won't listen. If you're not prepared to be confident with this particular 9-year-old who's pretty smart, you'll lose. He'll beat you with his mind. Mom said, I'll read these texts to my husband too so that he's on board with all of this and can help me. As you remember all this, I said, you'll be taking away all of Blake's weapons. You'll be ready for his tricks, which he mostly uses unconsciously, but he's really good at them. He still thinks he's in charge sometimes because he's clever and accustomed to manipulating you. Mom agreed. Yeah, he does that. So remember that this is not a battle. Sometimes you think you're fighting him, but that's not true. You are the mother. You are the queen of the family, and you're going to make him aware of that. You're going to behave and speak like the queen. Mom said, this is going to be quite a learning experience for me. Mostly I feel calm, a little nervous. I'm reading what you wrote several times. If he keeps complaining about it after our initial talk, should I put him in the car seat as a consequence? In fact, I'll probably have a family meeting to remind everybody that all the rules still apply while camping. We're here to have a great time, and the car seat will be used for those who choose not to have fun. That's a good way to say it. That if they choose not to have fun, they choose the car seat too. I used to lead a large team of older Boy Scouts, and occasionally somebody would show up at an overnight campout, for example, and it turned out that they didn't bring nearly enough, say, food, for example. Then they might say that they were hungry to me. And I would call out to the other scouts, anybody else here hungry? And everybody would say, no, got plenty of food. And then I'd turn back to the hungry boy and say, well, I guess nobody's hungry but you. You'll have to figure it out. And I said it all with exactly this wry, playful smile on my face. And the boy knew what he'd done. He knew that I wouldn't rescue him either. Sometimes the other boys would trade with him, like something he had for food or something he could do for them for food. This is not unkind to do trading in this circumstance. It's a practical demonstration of the consequences of the boy's choice. No food at all, missing a meal, might also be a consequence for Blake if he keeps complaining and he makes life difficult for you, and you prepare dinner with a great dessert and go, everybody but Blake is invited, while he sits in the car seat with his naked feet. Mom said, sounds really effective. And I said, yeah, really is. And your tone of voice is everything. Calm, but sometimes you might lightly mock his behavior. Why? To show that it's not a fight. Kids hate it when you do not take seriously their discomfort from no shoes, no food, whatever. They want you to sympathize. They want you to take responsibility for their choice. Don't do that. You're laughing at their choice, and they need to learn from that. Mom said, I can see what you're saying. If I can laugh about the choice, that means I'm not letting his discomfort bother me, which usually it does, and makes me comply with his demands. So I said, keep remembering that when it comes to what he wants, playing games, reading books, shooting guns, choosing food, leisure time, he believes he's a pretty big boy, almost an adult. He believes he's in command, and in some ways he is. But suddenly he's an infant when it comes to remembering his shoes. And he claims, I forgot. Nah, don't buy into that silliness. You're teaching him a kind of responsibility that will prevent him from being an irresponsible adult who can't get a job, can't keep a relationship, all that stuff that just destroys people. How many people do I know whose adult lives are ruined? And it always starts with little things that were not taught when they were 9 years old or 3 years old or whenever. Mom said, I think I've caught the happiness of this rather than how difficult it is. Woo-hoo, she said. So to everybody, love your children and teach them the principles they'll be using for the rest of their lives. Don't give in to short-term demands or discomfort. You're saving your kids' lives. This can happen for you too. You can expect great results when you use real love principles with your children, with anyone actually. Click the like, subscribe, and bell right here on YouTube, and keep learning how to love and teach your children.